I don't know about you, but when I plant my garden, it's like a 5-year-old on Christmas Eve. I can't wait to see those seedlings pop up. And it's a beautiful thing when they do. But what happens when some of them don't come up? What happens if they come up and then all of a sudden they disappear? What just happened? Well, I'm going to take you right into my garden. I'll show you beans that had a problem, and I'm going to talk about the weird way that I plant my corn to kind of make up for when that does happen.
All I have needs, I have not provided.
Let's talk about the corn first. You see, the package says to plant your corn about 12 inches apart. And I do plant my corn about 12 inches apart. But everywhere that I plant my corn, I plant 2 seeds. And where I plant 2 seeds, they're about 2 inches apart. And then I skip and then plant 2 seeds 2 inches apart, 12 inches away from the one that I just planted. There's 2 reasons why I do that. If both of them come up, one of them's going to look better than the other. And as I let them grow until they're about 4 inches tall, then I'll go through and I'll clip off the one that is the weakest or the smallest. I want the strongest ones. But what if I get a gap like the one I have just right over there? Well, if you can catch your corn at this stage, you can transplant them if you do it very carefully. So let me show you how to do that. So the purpose of me leaving a space here is so that in case I need to transplant one. And so you're just going to come down very carefully and you're going to dig a wedge out and try your best not to disturb the roots that are way down in there. And you'll be surprised how deep this corn has already sent its roots. And just grab up underneath. Wow. The roots are already that far down. You see how it's wanting to resist? So I've got to go down even deeper. So now I'm just going to cover that back up and make sure this guy is still in there really good. And then I'm going to, even though this soil is damp, we had a nice rain shower last night, I'm still going to water that in just to make sure that all the soil is around the roots really well. Now, if your corn gets any taller than this, the roots are probably going to be too extensive for you to successfully transplant them. So at this stage, you need to go through and inspect all of your corn and make sure that they all came up. And if you have a gap, then you've got some that you can transplant. Now, as far as trimming any of these back where there's more than one coming out each hole, I wait until they're about 4 to 6 inches tall. These are Fort Hook lima beans. They're a big butter bean, and they are a bush type. I haven't grown them for several years, and so this is my first time growing them again in a long time. And as you can see, it is kind of sparse. And it really puzzled me, but I think I know what happened. So you see here, I have, I don't think this one's going to make it. No, it's just, I'm going to dig it up and see what's going on here. There's nothing wrong with the root system, but it was damage to the seed as it was coming up. Same thing here. Root system looks pretty good. The damage is here on the seed. And so what I think I did is I just simply buried them too deep. So you see here, the seeds are pretty big. And I always bury the bigger seeds quite a bit deeper. And so this time I'm only going to put them like a 1/2 inch too deep or a 1/2 inch deep. And I'm going to plant more than I need. I'd rather just pull some out if they all come up, then try to spare my seeds. Another thing that I possibly did is I kept this too wet. It is partially shaded part of the day, and it doesn't dry out as fast as my other beds. And probably the pattern of the overhead sprinklers had something to do with it too, of watering these beds, this particular bed, more. So here's one that's struggling to come out. And look here, it's all rotted underneath. That's letting me know there was just too much water here. So I'm going to have to monitor the amount of water. So I'm just going to replace that one. And I'm not going to water this bed like I do the other beds. Here's another one. It rots. So I know it's not the seed. There's no problem with the seed itself. Because sometimes you get a bad batch of seeds. Look how beautiful the roots are here. So it's not necessarily the seed that's the problem. It could be operator error. Look at there. It just didn't want to come up. So the way now, if your plants are not very far along, you can go ahead and plant some more seeds right alongside of them. It's not going to be that much of a difference in when they mature. What you'll do is you'll just come back through and harvest for a longer period of time. These are Henderson butter beans, and I see it's the same problem. I just got a little too enthusiastic with watering them. And I also see here that I've buried a couple too deep. Now for me, it's a little bit more tricky with the Henderson because I save my seeds. And so this is probably about the 5th or 6th generation of seeds that I've saved. So a generation means I grew some Henderson butter beans, and then I saved the seeds from that crop. And then I grew some butter beans from that crop. And so that's a generation. Every time you save your seeds from a crop, that's a generation. So basically 6 or 7 years I've been saving my own seed. So I don't expect the same germination rate as I would some that I had purchased. I'm just not that controlled where I can expect a 99% germination rate. So I do plant my saved seeds pretty thick because of things like this that happens. So another thing that happens to me is mole crickets. Since I had several in a row here that didn't do well, when I pulled it, the roots didn't seem to be all that developed. I think some mole crickets just went down the line and got rid of mine. The only thing I know to help with mole crickets is to get some friendly nematodes. And it's not cheap. So these are Cherokee Trail of Tears. I got the original ones from Baker Creek and as a trial. And I love them so much that I wanted to save my own seeds. And so what's in this bag is seeds that I've saved, and what I planted here is from the seeds that I saved. So you might notice there's some gaps here. There's a couple of them that I think is just because I overwatered. But I think, let me see if I can grab some of these out and show you. I think the problem was when I saved the seeds. So I planted them a little bit late last year, and therefore the crop ran into the summer months where we get a lot of rain. And so that affected the seeds that I was trying to save. Normally, when you're saving seeds, like these are cranberry beans, you grow them on the bush, you let them dry on the bush. So they're actually on the bush a really long time, and you're actually just going to pick dry pods. Well, with the Trail of Tears last year, it was starting to rain during that time that you would normally let them dry on the pod, and I just went ahead and picked them as soon as they were turning yellow because actually the pods were rotting. So hopefully these are going to be done before the rains start in June. So it's the end of March now. Or I can do better at trying to make sure they're really mature, which is difficult. When you hit into the rainy season, they may rot before they actually mature. The other thing that I didn't do with these is I felt like I planted them too close together the first time, so I was trying not to make that same mistake this time, and so I planted them further apart. Now I know to go ahead and plant more than you need, and you can always snip them back if there's still, if too many come up. So how far down do you plant your seeds? You see, here's all the seeds that I've shown you today. I have Ford Hook Butterbean, Cranberry, Henderson Lima Bean. This is Bush Blue Lake. I didn't show you that. They all came up beautifully. And this one here is the Cherokee Trail of Tears. Do you see how they vary in size? So you're going to go according to how high, how tall the seed is from top to bottom. So you see, you're going to be burying your Ford Hook deeper than you would your Cherokee Trail of Tears. So you're going to bury them no deeper than twice their height. So in other words, add another bean size to this, and that is as deep as you should go. So for the Ford Hook, no deeper than that. However, if you have wet soil or clay soil, I would go a little less than that. But you don't want the seed showing through the soil. They'll come up and they'll dry out. The roots have got to go down at the same time it's trying to push the leaves up. So you see, I'm going to be burying the Ford Hook a lot deeper than I will the Cherokee Trail of Tears. How far apart should you plant them? Again, it's according to their size. The Ford Hook Butterbean bushes really should have about 4 inches between them, whereas the Bush Blue Lake one here, I'll go 2 inches apart. And that's a little bit closer than it's recommended, but that just works for me. So you're going to have to kind of learn by experience as well. So don't give up. But if you've got them really crammed close together, don't worry about pulling them out. Take a pair of scissors out and snip them off until they're, the width that they're supposed to be. And do it by the time the plants are 4 inches or so tall. You don't want to wait later than that to, cull them out. The black-eyed peas had a great germination rate. However, corn, here we go with zipper peas. And you can see there's quite a few gaps here. And I think that's for 2 reasons. These are my own saved seeds, so I don't expect as high a germination rate. But when you've got a long trail like this, I really think a pest did that. So I'm just replanting them. And if there's too many here, I'll be able to just cut them back. If you want to learn how to grow sweet potatoes, I have an extensive playlist that you can check out. So why not subscribe, turn on all the bell notifications, because if you don't, YouTube's probably not going to tell you that I just published a video. And once you do that, go on in and look at all the playlists and videos that I've done. I have over 200 videos already. Well, I hope this was helpful. If this happens to you, you don't have to be like a 12-year-old on Christmas Day when he didn't get everything that he wanted. Just come out, take an assessment, and plant some more. It'll be okay. Thanks for watching. I hope it was helpful.
Great is thy